I slammed on the brakes of my old Ford pickup, tires screeching as dirt and pebbles sprayed across the driveway. There she was, Marilyn Stokes, perched atop my rainwater tank like some self-appointed queen, her navy blue HOA jacket flapping in the breeze. She was wrenching the valve open with a vengeance, as if the rain itself had personally offended her. My heart sank as thousands of gallons of precious, crystal-clear water gushed out, cascading down the hill of my homestead like a river set free. "What in God's name are you doing?" I bellowed, leaping from the truck, my voice echoing across the quiet fields. Marilyn whipped around, her designer scarf nearly slipping off her head. Without a second's hesitation, she yanked out her phone and shrieked into it. 911. "Help! There's a dangerous man on my property. He's back early from his trip and threatening me." My blood froze. This woman was on my land, sabotaging my water supply, and now she was spinning a tale to the cops? She pointed at me, her voice shrill enough to wake the dead. "He's armed. He's violent." Armed. I was clutching a greasy bag of burgers from a roadside diner, but the way she carried on, you'd think I was brandishing a flamethrower. Sirens wailed in the distance, closing in fast. My fists clenched, my pulse hammering. My tanks were bleeding dry. Marilyn was putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, and now the police were barreling toward my property. I had no clue how deep this mess was about to get. Let me rewind. My name's Ethan Caldwell, a 47-year-old retired Marine, and I own a 50-acre homestead in the rolling hills of eastern Oregon. I bought this land with every penny I'd scraped together after Leah VY-ing the Sayre VYC. It's my sanctuary, quiet, wild, far from the chaos of city life and petty neighborhood politics. Or so I thought. I keep a few goats, grow vegetables, and build a cozy cabin right in the heart of the property. My nearest neighbor is a good mile away, and I've never signed up for any HOA nonsense. But 3 years ago, a shiny new subby VY shown called Silver Pine sprouted up just over the northern ridge. Picture-perfect houses, manicured lawns, and an HOA that acts like it rules the whole county. That's where Marilyn Stokes comes in, late 50s, platinum blonde hair stiff as a helmet, president of the Silver Pines HOA, and the kind of person who'd report you for planting daisies without a permit. From day one, she had it out for me. She called my goat pen an eyesore, griped that my wind chimes were too loud, even though you couldn't hear them from her side of the ridge. Once, she demanded I repaint my shed to match their approved earthy tones. I laughed her off, but that only lit a fire under her. Last week, I took a 4-day trip to VY-sit my brother in Idaho. I locked up the homestead and asked my buddy Caleb, a part-time mechanic, to swing by and check on the animals. Everything was supposed to be fine, but 2 days into my trip, Caleb called, his voice tense. "Man, there's a fancy white SUV parked by your tanks. Some woman in a blazer was snooping around. I told her to beat it, but she waved some papers at me, claiming she had authority. I think she's messing with your water." I told Caleb to snap a photo, if he could, but to steer clear of her. By the time he got back with his phone, she was gone. I canceled my plans, threw my bags in the truck, and hauled it back to Oregon, an 8-hour drive through the night. That's what led me to this morning, pulling onto my dirt road at dawn. I spotted fresh tire tracks that weren't mine or Caleb's, then puddles near the shed too fresh for the dry weather. And then I saw her, Marilyn, standing on my tank like she owned the place. Those tanks aren't just barrels, they're my lifeline. Out here, we get long dry spells, and town water is unreliable and costs a fortune. That rainwater keeps my crops alive, my animals fed, and my home safe in case of wildfires. Losing it all at once? That's not just a hassle, it's a disaster. Marilyn, though, stood there while VY-ing a fake HOA badge like it was a sheriff's star, screaming into her phone. "He's coming closer. He's aggressive." I wasn't even VY-ing. I stood stock still, one hand raised, the other clutching my burger bag, trying not to give her any ammo. Caleb's Jeep roared up behind me. He jumped out, saw Marilyn, and yelled, "She's the one trespassing. I've got VY Deo." But Marilyn just cranked up the drama. Now there's 2 of them, 2 VY men. The cops were closing in. I could see their dust trail on the main road. My hands were clammy, my throat dry. The water was still pouring out, soaking into the earth like it was nothing. Then, as the first sheriff car screeched into VYEW, Marilyn reached in her tote bag, still perched on my tank, and pulled out something shiny. It caught the sunlight. A wrench? A crowbar? Caleb's eyes widened. Is that? But before he could finish, the deputy's door flew open. Step away from the tank, he shouted, weapon drawn. Drop what you're holding. I froze. Marilyn kept screaming. Caleb was trying to explain. And there I was on my own land, framed with a leaking tank, a bag of burgers, and a cop about to make a colossal mistake. The deputy's boots crunched as he advanced, gun trained on me. Hands up. Drop the bag. My burgers hit the dirt with a pathetic splat, ketchup oozing out. Marilyn, still on the tank, held her mystery object aloft like a trophy, her voice quivering with fake terror. He threatened me. He's stealing water from our community system. Stealing? My head spun. Caleb stepped forward, hands raised. Officer, she's lying. This is Ethan's land. I caught her on VY opening the valves. The deputy glanced at Marilyn. Ma'am, are you in danger? Yes, she wailed. He's illegally hoarding water. It's a health risk to our neighborhood. The second deputy, younger and calmer, climbed out his car. Let's see that VY, he said, nodding to Caleb's phone. Marilyn's face twisted. They're lying, she snapped. I found my voice. She's been harassing me for years. She's HOA president of a neighborhood I'm not even part of. Now she's trespassed and drained 5,000 gallons of my rainwater. The sheriff turned to Marilyn. Did you enter this property without permission? She climbed down, stumbling for effect. I was inspecting for public safety. That water could poison our groundwater. You're not an inspector, I shot back. The younger deputy held up Caleb's phone. It's all here, sir. She opened the tanks alone. No warrant. No ID. Ethan wasn't even home. The sheriff lowered his gun. Ma'am, this land isn't in your HOA. You had no right to touch his property. Marilyn's face flushed crimson. Those tanks ruin our scenic VYUs. Then don't look, Caleb muttered. The sheriff sighed. Sir, do you want to press charges? I hesitated, glancing at Marilyn, who still played the VY Tim. My grandpa's words echoed in my head. Kindness isn't weakness, but sometimes it's showing someone grace they don't deserve. Not yet, I said, but if she comes back, I will. The cops escorted Marilyn to her SUV, which was blocking my gate. She rambled about community standards the whole way. After they left, Caleb stayed. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I'll lie, my voice tight. But we got a dry spell coming. My crops and animals are screwed. We rigged up emergency barrels with what little water remained. That night, I checked my security footage. Marilyn had scoped out the tanks the night before, too. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment stunt planned it. The next morning, I found an envelope taped to my gate. Inside, an HOA letter claiming I owed Dula $3,000 for unauthorized water storage. I laughed, then called my lawyer, Nathan Brooks, a grizzled 60-something who didn't suffer fools. They're bullying you, Nathan said. We'll hit back hard. 2 days later, as I was fixing a fence, 3 HOA board members marched onto my land like they were storming a castle. The leader, Victor, wore a polo tucked so tight it screamed control freak. Beside him was a woman, Ellen, gripping a clipboard like a shield. The third, a younger guy named Ryan, flew a drone that buzzed over my cabin like a vulture. Can I help you? I called, leaning on my shovel. Victor flashed a fake smile. We're here to inspect your water system for environmental violations. Inspect. I raised an eyebrow. This isn't your land. Ellen piped up. Our updated HOA map includes your property. You were notified. Notify this, I said. My deed says otherwise. Ryan's drone whirred closer. Got photos of the tanks uploading now, he said into a headset. I stepped forward. You're recording me? On my land. Victor smirked. Your tanks are VY soil pollution. They ruin our hiking trails aesthetic. I took a deep breath. You're trespassing. Get off my property, or I'm calling the sheriff. They left, but not before Victor promised. You'll hear from our lawyers. That afternoon, I drove to the county office with my deed and zoning papers. The clerk confirmed my land was agricultural, outside any HOA. Relieved, but fuming, I called Nathan. "Can I sue?" "Oh, we'll do more than that," he said. But that night, I woke to a hissing sound. Grabbing my flashlight, I crept outside. The emergency tank's cap was unscrewed, water leaking fast. Nearby, fresh, footprint small, like a woman's. The trail led to the road and vanished. My security camera? Spray painted black. By morning, the tank was half empty. Caleb came over, jaw-dropping. "This is sabotage, Ethan." "I know," I said. "It's time to go public." We drove to a friend's farm to refill water drums. While I was gone, Nathan texted, "HOA filed an injunction claiming your tanks are a health hazard. Emergency hearing tomorrow." That night, a tow truck rolled up, its yellow lights slicing through the dark. The driver, a gruff guy in his 40s, said he was sent by Maryland to repossess my tanks. "They're not cars." I snapped. I called 911, and the same young deputy showed up checking my paperwork. "This is theft," he told the driver. "Leave now." The deputy warned me. "This HOA's escalating. Fix your cameras." I did, adding motion lights and cloud storage. The next day, Caleb sent me a link to the HOA's website. They'd posted a doctored photo of my homestead labeled toxic water dump. Maryland's post ranted about bacteria and pet safety. Comment called for my tank's removal. Her final jab? A threat to cut off my utilities. I checked my breaker box. The backup generator's lock was cut. The switch flipped off. My stomach churned. They'd been here again. I wasn't staying quiet anymore. With Caleb, I filmed a video in front of my shed. "I'm Ethan Caldwell, a Marine vet. I own this land legally. The HOA next door, which I'm not part of, has trespassed, drained my water, and tried to steal my property. Now they're lying to ruin me." I posted online. By nightfall, it had 200,000 VYUs. Veterans groups, homesteaders, and locals rallied. A radio station in VY me on air. I laid it all bare: Maryland's lies, the vandalism, the tow truck. The host asked, "What's the worst part?" "When community becomes control," I said. "HOAs can protect, but in the wrong hands, they're tyrants." That night, a crash woke me. I ran outside, flashlight beam hitting my smaller tank, tipped over, water flooding the dirt. A crowbar lay nearby, tire tracks leading towards Silver Pines. My new camera caught it all. Maryland, hooded, and a shorter figure prying the tank loose. They didn't even hide their faces. I called Nathan at 1 a.m. "This is felony vandalism," he said. "Send the footage." By dawn, deputies watched the video, stunned. "We'll issue warrants," one said. I pressed charges. That day, a news crew arrived, and my story aired statewide, then nationally. The HOA's social media imploded with outrage. Leaked chats showed Maryland bragging about teaching that homesteader a lesson. 2 board members quit, one apologizing publicly. Maryland, though, held a press conference, pearls gleaming, voice dripping with fake concern. "We're protecting our community from Mr. Caldwell's unsafe water practices." Caleb and I watched, incredulous. "She's delusional," he said. 3 days later, in court, we played the footage. Maryland's face drained of color. When the judge asked if it was her, she stammered. Nathan showed a second clip: Maryland threatening me in an HOA Zoom. The judge ruled Maryland was liable for vandalism, trespassing, and defamation. The HOA was fined due lost $70,000 for drone harassment and damages, plus a restraining order barring them from my land. I thought it was over, but a week later, Caleb rushed over with a letter. Maryland had filed an appeal, claiming eminent domain, saying my land was critical for their drainage system. HOAs can't do that. I snapped, calling Nathan. "She's desperate," he said. "They're claiming your land affects their runoff. We'll need experts." I hired an NVY environmental scientist who proved my homestead didn't impact Silver Pines. In fact, their shoddy ditches flooded my fields. We filed for dismissal. A resident, Paul, called me. "Maryland's planning to bulldoze your shed. She's calling it a biohazard." I filed an injunction, which was granted. The final hearing in a Portland state court was a showdown. Maryland's slick lawyer pushed their drainage claim. Our experts dismantled it. The judge shut it down. This is harassment and abuse of the legal system. She sanctioned the HOA, barred further claims, and ordered them to pay my fees and a doulah $30,000 fine. That night, I threw a barbecue. Friends, neighbors, even ex-HOA members showed up. We laughed, ate, and toasted to freedom. Marilyn resigned days later. Rumor has it she fled Oregon. I rebuilt my tanks, bigger and stronger. My homestead's still mine, and no HOA will ever touch it. But here's where I need you. Was I right to fight, or should I have compromised? Could Marilyn have had a point, or was she just power-hungry? Have you faced an HOA nightmare like this? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe. I want to hear your stories. Let's keep this fight alive.